We have a booth.
There we go. Now we're on. Liking that a lot. It's fancy. All right. All right, we'll convene the October 5th, 2016 meeting of the West Sacramento Port District. We can, all members are present, so we'll start with, we had closed session, so we'll report out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Port Commission met in closed session to discuss two items concerning real property with their real property negotiators. The properties are listed in the agenda. The other parties, one is Ranch Capital LLC and the other is Shell. No actions were taken.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Legal Counsel. To lead us this evening in the pledge, Commissioner Sandin, would you please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll note that all commissioners are present this evening. Item 1 is presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the commission. I don't have any slips to speak. Moving on to consent agenda, we have 2 items. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about the consent agenda?
I'll move consent.
Have a motion. Second. And a second. Teresa, you got that right? I don't need to report it? Yeah, there we go. All right. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Regular agenda item 4 is consideration of exclusive negotiating agreement with Ranch Capital LLC for purchase and development of the Barge Canal property. Mr. Toft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. I have a few PowerPoint slides to guide the conversation here. As you recall, the Port acquired the larger Stone Lock properties in November of last year. That's about a 200-acre assemblage of property. Stone Lock, what we're referring to as Stone Lock Phase 1, or the Barge Canal parcel, is approximately 30 acres on the west side of Jefferson, and that's the pertinent property relative to the recommended action tonight and the exclusive negotiating agreement with Ranch Capital. So this site was recognized as having near-term residential development potential, while the balance of the property is being master planned together with Stone Lock. And recognizing that, staff issued a request for proposals for purchase and development in June. 4 proposals were received, and the proposal received by Ranch Capital and their builder partner, Bardis Homes, was judged to be the superior proposal. Can we flip to the second slide? Thank you. This is, I'm going to talk just briefly about their proposal, looking at their site plan here. They're proposing 257 homes on the interior 15 acres of the 30-acre Barge Canal site. It would be bounded on the west by a new 4-acre city park, on the east by the existing public access parking area and boat ramp, and on the north by the existing Barge Canal trail. And the site plan also includes an optional water sports facility that is an option for the port to build, and which could also include a restaurant. And so, getting back to the homes, the 257 units are split. There's 2 different unit types. We have 114 waterfront homes that are configured in 2-story duplex clusters, and 143 what they're calling Oak Lane homes. That's a 3-story detached product. All the homes would be for sale units with projected pricing from $325,000 to $489,000. The site also includes a park that would be a common area for residents' use. That's in addition to the 4-acre city park on the west. And it's structured with these north-south corridors to maximize connectivity to the Barge Canal Trail. The plan would create a through street with primary access at Jefferson and Stone Lock, at Locks Drive, I'm sorry, and extend to the west to the West Bridge Plaza Road. And that road would serve also as a buffer to for the existing residents and neighborhoods to the south. And the plan calls for improving the Oak Tree corridor with a trail too that's linked to those north-south corridors and the Barge Canal Trail. So I'm going to leave it at that in terms of a summary of the project. Kevin Smith is here with Ranch Capital when I conclude my remarks to answer any specific questions you might have on the project. And so moving to the business terms, thank you. Staff and Ranch Capital have negotiated the terms of an E&A or an exclusive negotiating agreement, which would provide the developer short-term control of that 15-acre residential site in exchange for a $50,000 negotiation fee for a period of time extending 60 days from approval of the city's general plan update. And depending on that schedule, the schedule is sometime towards the end of the year. The E&A period would extend to late January to mid-February. It specifies a purchase price of a little over $7 million, structured with 2 payments, 2 50% payments, half at a target date of July 2017. That is based on the time frame for approving a final map for the project, with the second payment essentially being seller carryback financing at commercially reasonable terms secured by a deed of trust, with a target date of September 2019 based on, that's 18 months from the anticipated date of the closing of the first units in the project. The developer would also fund a bicycle pedestrian crossing study of Jefferson Boulevard to link the project to the Clarksburg Branch Line Trail and to the Stone Lot properties to the east. That would include a study of tunneling under Jefferson, bridging over Jefferson, determining what those costs are and any technical requirements. And finally, the developer would agree to a $500,000 contribution to a water sports facility to be built at the port's option. And I mentioned that facility might also include a restaurant. And so the E&A, if the commission were to approve it this evening, would lead to a purchase and sale agreement and a development agreement, which we would negotiate with the developer. The city would be involved on the development agreement side. We'd bring those agreements back to you for your consideration in early 2017, roughly February 1st. And so with that, I'll conclude my comments. As I mentioned, Kevin Smith is here tonight with Ranch Capital. If you have any questions about the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Todd, for the presentation. Are there any questions by the commission at this point? Right. Seeing none, thank you very much. Had you planned to speak on it, or you were here just in the event that there are questions, or you had not? Okay.
I was really just here in the event of questions.
Fair enough.
But I'm happy to speak or to answer questions as needed.
All right, very good. All right, so back to the commission for discussion, comments, suggestions, or motions. Anybody want to lead off? Commissioner Cavalli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think for the Port Commission, this is an exciting project. We had a lot of interest in moving forward with some initial development in the Stone Lock property that we have assembled over the last decade and a half, and for good reason. I mean, this is a part of the community, where not two halves, but the Southport and the remainder of the city come together. It's proved to be a very popular location today for recreation, for fishing, for non-powered boating, but lots of activity because of the branch trail, because of other development in Southport, and we've long recognized in our general plan the potential for the site, or the city has. And so this is we did the request process that Rick outlined and generated this proposal, and as we've reviewed the pretty extensive documentation that we've been provided by the developer and staff about the project, and there's a lot to like here, and so I think and I'm supportive of moving forward with this. I do want to signal a couple things, though, because this ENA will also anticipate approval of a development agreement by the city, and the city's interest and the port's interest are aligned, but we have different areas of emphasis. And so, at the port, our principal interest is in advancing our statutory mission with respect to, in this particular case, public access, and also the financial viability of the port, the port's core business operations, and so we're taking that seriously here. In the development agreement process, this is a very important piece of property in the city and in the future of Stone Lock and of that village of Southport, and in the coming together of all parts of the city. And so what is being signaled in the ENA with respect to the crossing at Jefferson and the importance of connecting this property to the rest of Stone Lock, and to set the right standard and expectations and vibe for Stone Lock is very important. Right? So it will be important. I know for the city that the DA result in real connectivity and not simply a study that is on the shelf. And similarly, the port's mission with respect to public access is a central one, and it was one of the key reasons why the legislature and we successfully sought essentially an ownership transfer of the port to the city so that we could more effectively achieve the mission that we're charged with under statute and that the taxpayers of the district had approved, which is to place a higher emphasis on public access and recreation related to the port. And we have three current major areas of that: the Lake Washington Sailing Club, the Boat Club, and the Stone Lock Recreation fishing area. And so that's a significant leg on the stool for the Port Commission. It's also very important for the city. It's one of our most heavily used, per square inch of developed, and certainly per dollar that we spend creating it. One of the most heavily used in the city, and one of the most diverse user base of any of our public facilities in the city, and that's an important value for the city. And so the relationship between the current uses, which is for casual recreational fishing by a diverse population, is I think will be important at the city, and the broader mix of recreation, which is why the water sports facility, which I know is attractive to us at the Port Commission, because of its potential for the port's property portfolio and public access, will be even more essential for the city to really understand what's going to be the step forward in that area. Having said that, I just came back from Oklahoma City from a mayor's meeting last week, and we saw some astonishingly good water sports facilities, and that have really transformed the culture and the aspiration of that city, which is not, it's not a major metropolis, but it's certainly bigger than ours. So that's a very exciting concept, and the opportunity that this project opens up for us to start to explore really how to do something that's been on the table and been suggested by UC Davis and lots of other folks for 20 years is really exciting. And so this is so we want to make sure we get that across the line. So having said all that, I did want, with respect to the agreement itself, we're in the E&A stage, not the development agreement stage, and I know we and the developer and probably the city are all chomping at the bit to get to the development agreement and the purchase and sale. But there are provisions of the E&A that feel like they belong in for consideration in the development agreement. So when the appropriate time is for a motion, I would propose that we amend the E&A in two places, simply to remove a couple of sentences. The first is in section 1.5, the Jefferson Boulevard Bike Ped Crossing Study, to remove the penultimate sentence, the in no event shall the developer be responsible for the cost of constructing such a crossing, rather only for the cost of the study. That's a matter for the development agreement to address. And then similarly in section 2, on the development concept, the last sentence, which is essentially in the same vein, in no event shall a developer's contribution exceed $500,000. This is not a signal that the developer's contribution should exceed $500,000. It's just there's no purpose of that language in the E&A, since we're not making any other concomitant commitments to the city or to the port district in this section. So with those two sentences removed, I'd be supportive of advancing the item.
Right.
And I guess since I'm not going to be jumping into it, I will move approval of the agreement with those two changes in substantially the form that's, with the so on and so forth that's in the recommended action.
Did you second already, Mark? I'll second that. I'll second the motion.
Okay. So we have a second and we have a motion on the table. So before we take action on that motion, I guess I just wanted to chime in a little bit as I've contemplated a lot of what I think we've seen in the last, 6 months when it was initially sort of brought before the commission. And I think I still find myself struggling a bit with where we have sort of evolved over the course of the last, and I'll say 15 years, because that's when the initial thrust was to sort of reconfigure the governance of the port, and for a whole host of reasons, many of which we're talking about this evening, which is public access. And so I think for me, I struggle a little bit yet with what we worked as a city back then, and as a port commission most recently, to ensure that we had a diverse opportunity for public access, not just public access. And I still struggle a little bit with what I think where we're headed, and that is, albeit it could be considered to be public access, it's not going to end up, in my mind, based on what we're hearing this evening, if we go through and move to a development agreement at some point, if we get past the E&A. It's more of a boutique access than what I think we have now, and I think it fits in line with what the vision was in terms of public access. So I think I'm comfortable going forward this evening, but I'm really I'm not as comfortable as I'd like to be in light of what I hope we would have preserved. Hope we preserve going into the future in terms of public access and all the other things. I mean, I think while the opportunity to capitalize financially on it may make sense, it wasn't part of our business plan in terms of where we were looking to go. I think it's more opportunistic at the moment, and so we typically, as a port, we've not done business that way. We've come a long ways from where we were 10 years ago. So all that being said, I'm comfortable moving forward, but I still have some reservations about ultimately where this will take us. So anyhow, so we have a motion on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. We're moving to the next stage of it. Right, that concludes our regular agenda. We now have commission reports. Are there any reports by any of the commissioners? Seeing none, Port CEO report.
Just briefly, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, our port manager, Rick Toff, has done another great job in terms of grant opportunity. We're finalizing a Cal Recycle grant of $417,000 to finish up the cleanup of the port and the abandoned vehicle or vessels that are there. The 417 will be combined with a $270,000 grant from Boating and Waterways, and that would enable us to complete the job that's been taking place over the last 3 years. So Rick's done a wonderful job getting grant funding for this. He's pretty humble about it. He says the effort speaks for itself. That's why agencies come in and fund it. But, we know that's not the case. He's done a great job on really highlighting the need and writing great grant applications.
Congratulations. Yeah, good stuff. All right. All right, that concludes, we're looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion and second. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.